The Beatles, unique in many ways. Among them, the fact that each of the Fab Four has a clearly defined, identifiable personality. In getting to understand those personalities, I asked the left-handed bass guitarist to tell us who he is.
Me? Well, I'm Paul McCartney. I play bass with the group, and I write the songs with John, most of them. Sing occasionally. The main thing is, I'm having a great time, whoever I am. I'm not quite sure who I am, but all those newspaper articles sort of writing about this fella called Paul McCartney. I hope it is me. I sometimes wonder if it is me. If it is, I'm having a marvellous time. Lazing around, watching television, sunbathing, swimming. It's a hard life.
Yeah, I really feel for you.
I don't think we want to laze around all the time. There's quite a lot of things to be done. There's TV shows to be worked out and scripts for films and things to be. There's a lot of stuff you've still got to do, even though we're on holiday.
So as far as Paul McCartney is concerned, the ideal life is not lying around. The ideal life is working.
No, really. The ideal life actually is just lying around for, say, 4 or 5 days, then working for a week. Then maybe another 4 or 5 days lying around. I don't know. I just don't like to be lying around too much.
I got the feeling you realize how lucky you are to be able to do that, though, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, the thing is, when I was in Liverpool, when we were just playing with the group then, never had any of the opportunities, and even if we did, it wouldn't have been in LA, Wouldn't have been on the Californian coast we've been lazing around. It would have been on
the docks.
Dungeon, what was it, Dungeon Lane or the Cast Iron Shore, which were the popular resorts in Liverpool.
While the Beatles are performing, each the object of the combined screams of thousands of adoring females, the fact remains that 2 of them are happily married men. John, Cynthia, and Julian Lennon live in comparative seclusion in a rambling English country mansion that John describes this way.
Well, it's just a home, It's just peaceful and quiet.
You take out the garbage?
None of that stuff. I don't like garbage. No, I don't do anything. I just go home and relax and eat.
Your son Julian is how old now?
2.5 when I left. So he might be 5 when I get home. I don't know.
They age quickly these days. When my daughter was born, I was suddenly struck with the realization that I'm responsible to a great extent for a human life and molding it.
Yeah.
Did that hit you that way?
Yeah, I keep looking at him crawling about and throwing me cigarettes on the phone, thinking, where did he come from? You do tend to think a bit when you see them.
How about your obligations to a child now? Financial is no problem, but the other things, the things that money can't buy.
Well, I just want him to grow up happy, That's the main thing.
What can you give him?
Just love, that's the main thing, He's just got to be happy and know he's wanted. I'm not having any of that boarding school or any sending him away. He's going to be with us all the time,
During the '65 American tour, Ringo Starr was an expectant father and talked about his forthcoming child quite often. Like a typical proud papa, I showed him a wallet full of pictures of my family.
That's Melissa.
That's a good one.
That's Herbie, my wife. And that's her again.
Yeah, she's great. She's very nice, folks.
Now, of course, Ringo and Maureen are the parents of a healthy son they named Zach. A name they chose because Ringo said it has a Western sound. Yeah, boys. It all turned out beautifully because Ringo wanted a boy all along.
I think most men do, actually. It's something to do with the ego. Girls are too much of a worry, They grow up and they go crazy screaming after Beatles and things. You have to watch them.
I know it's early to ask this, but the old story about children of big show business stars having problem-type lives. Have you given any thought to this in relation to your child?
We've given as much thought as we can, and we both want to keep it out the limelight, as much as possible, like John does. It may be a bit harder when it gets a bit older, when he goes to school. And I think they'll have a lot of trouble because, they may just get friends like we do just because we're Beatles, and they may get a lot of friends just because his dad's a Beatle, so it's going to be difficult. I think you just have to wait and see what happens and work it when the time comes,
What do you think the most important thing is that you can eventually pass on to your child? I don't mean anything financial or material. What can you teach him?
You have to have... Well, you've got kids, haven't you? The thing is, what are you going to teach her? What do you think you can give her?
I think just basically to be a good human being, the difference between right and wrong.
All the love we've got between us, I think that helps a lot. And that's, at this moment is about all we can give the baby.
I know you're happy with the reaction to your marriage. I don't know how shaky you were beforehand.
I was a bit before the marriage. We talked over and we said, well, you know, it could happen that, you know, I'd lose everything. And but the thing is, I love Maureen, you see. So I think love's worth taking a chance on.
That leads me to my next question. I know every girl listening would like to know, what about Maureen attracted you? What are the qualities that you looked for and found in Maureen?
One of the main factors was that I knew Maureen when I was nothing, you know. And so I knew that she was, you know, at first she was going out with me because I was me, not because I was, you know, ended up as a Beatle. And we sort of got along together and we sort of liked the same sort of things. And, you know, then we sort of fell in love and everything and got married.
As of today, there are 2 bachelor Beatles still available. One of them, George Harrison, tells us what in a girl attracts him.
The first quality that, you know, if I see a girl who I fancy, well, I think it's the same with most people. They've got to look good to, you know, to yourself, you know. I mean, if a girl doesn't look good, then you don't even try, do you? You go out with a girl mainly because you like the look of her, and then you either drop her because she just looks good and she's an idiot and you can't get on with her, or you find out she looks good and she thinks about the same as you and, you know, goes for the same things, and, you know, you find out if you've got a matching personality. And that's when people usually get married, when they find out that, you know, the girlfriend is the type that they can live with, you know. But I mean, I think the most important thing in the beginning, well, for me, is that somebody should look good.
You don't believe in the old saying about opposites attract?
No, don't believe in that at all, because, you know, if you look at, well, for us, you know, I know Ringo's wife and John's wife, and they're so well matched that it's ridiculous, you know. I mean, because for a start, I couldn't have a girlfriend who's an intellectual, because she'd be talking above me, you know. She'd be talking about things I wasn't interested in, or things that I didn't understand, and, you know, it always leads to arguments and embarrassment. And I think everybody usually picks somebody who thinks and talks on the same level as them.
In answer to the constant rumors about him, I asked George to explain his status.
As I've said, you know, I've got no plans. But I mean, the thing is, Ringo didn't have any plans. You know, I mean, if I do get married, I mean, I don't want people saying, "You liar, you said you weren't." I mean, all I've said, I've got no plans, and as far as I know, I'm not getting married yet.
The Beatle who causes the most rumors is Paul McCartney. The night before one of our conversations, the newspapers carried a story saying that the boys' press secretary, Tony Barrow, had announced Paul's engagement.
That's a lie. He didn't.
He didn't.
Actually,
okay, clear it up for us, because I've had calls and crying.
I don't even know whether it's worth it, you know, because this thing must have gone on about every day this year.
Well, I know the rumors come in all the time.
Mr. Walter Winchell tells me I'm married.
Uh-huh.
A couple of English newspapers tell me that I'm married. Somebody told me last night I was engaged. You see, you know, all these people know much more than I do, because I haven't heard a word about this. I've been in a hotel room, and I've hardly talked to anyone for 2 days, and I suddenly read this morning that I've said I'm engaged. Well, I didn't. That's all I can say, you know.
And
I didn't
you're not.
say that. I didn't say a word to anyone. But the only reason I've got no plans is because, you know, I haven't thought about it, getting married, really. I'll get married when I want to, you know.
If and when he does decide he wants to, here's how Paul will prepare for the wedding.
Well, you've got to get a couple of new shirts for the wedding, definitely, and that's getting ready. So I'll get a couple of new shirts when I'm ready. That's the only preparations I'll make.
George and Paul aren't the only Beatles affected by the rumors. Even the size of John Lennon's family is a favorite subject.
I've got one son and one wife, and no babies expected, but if any come, all well and good, and you'll hear about them. You won't read about them. You know, it'll be out official. It won't be sort of the way it is now. You know, you hear he's got a daughter, he's got this, he's got that. You know.
These rumors have got to get to you guys after a while. You got to say, come on with that, right?
Well, I don't. There's nothing you can do about them. People continue writing them. They know it's not true when they're writing it. They're just doing it to sell the magazine.
Ringo Starr, since his marriage, has been another favorite target for all the rumor magazines.
We were just reading two on the plane today, and one says, why I don't live with Maureen anymore, because I'm such a big head, she can't get on with me and everything. And the other one says, why I don't get on with the fans anymore, complete opposite. And that's because I'm always looking after Maureen, this other one, and it says, I used to always be amongst the fans, laughing and shaking hands and kissing them, but now I never smile or talk to them or anything. And they're the greatest load of rubbish you've ever read, man. Just two magazines with completely different stories, and they just make them up,
Although barely audible at some concerts, the music of the Beatles was always there, driving, rocking, and exciting. One of the young men responsible for the songs that are Beatlemania, John Lennon, talks about that music and its future.
I can't see anything replacing the sort of formula now. There's enough variations of pop music to last for another 5 or 6 years.
Are the Beatles the same Beatles they were 2 years ago, musically, or have you gone in new directions?
We're not the same people, obviously, but the music has changed. We've improved. Paul and I write better songs.
Are you doing this on purpose? Are you looking for a direction, saying, let's go that way?
No, we get crazes, like anybody else. I think we'll sound folky on this album, or let's do a real old rocker. We just sort of get crazes. We never sort of have one direction,